Welcome to a brand new feature podcast at the Wine of the Month Club.
Are you trying to do this new thing?
I am Ed Masciana, your host. This is my guest, Paul Kalemkiarian, second generation owner of the Wine of the Month Club. He has absolutely no idea where I'm going, what I'm doing, or what I'm going to say. And I did that on purpose because I want his actual responses to be completely ad-lib. And that was one of them. Now, as many of you know, one of my major jobs here is to go back 40 years to see what wines we featured. That's on the website, which were 74 Monterey Peninsula Pinot Noir, and Morandell 75 Peace Porter Treppchen. Great wines, both of them. But at the bottom of the newsletter, there was an invitation to a Les Amis du Vin tasting in Manhattan Beach. Now, his father, owner of Palos Verdes Wines and Spirits, was the club store for Palos Verdes, but we always helped each other out, and he put their tasting in his newsletter. Now, I'm going to tell you what those wines were. In
the tasting, the Les Amis du Vin.
Les Amis du Vin tasting.
Yeah, so the Manhattan Beach chapter was different than the Torrance chapter?
Well, yeah, but we did a lot of the same wines. Here are the wines that were featured. 1973 Camus, 75 Stag's Leap,
wow.
75 Diamond Creek Red Rock, 75 Spring Mountain, 73 Heights Martha's, 73 Mayacamas, 73 BV Private Reserve, 73 Mondavi Reserve, and 71 Trinidad Reserve.
Wow. Who at the Manhattan Beach Group? Was that Marine?
That was Jerry Seps, who later founded Storybook Mountains in Napa Valley.
Storybook. So, now, wow, those are all like premium, ultra premiums.
The title of this is Guess What? And you guess what the price was.
Oh, for the tasting?
For the tasting in 78.
Oh, $12.
$11. Pretty damn good. I'll tell you, I was shocked because everybody I did this with said, oh, $50. Okay, now you take
78.
I took the prices of those wines then and got a formula for what they charged. Using the same formula, what do you think that would cost today?
Oh, to do the thing. If you're talking about per ounce, per pour.
Exactly.
All those wines.
Exactly.
Based on today's prices of the brands. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Why don't you say that?
Because you did.
I'll go with your $50.
200.
Oh. Well, you're really cranking on the calculator today.
Well,
huh?
I did that in my head, but I mean, I was actually shocked, to tell you the truth, because once I started to look at the prices that these are going for, and I mean, back in the day, Heights Martha's was the most expensive Cabernet on earth. It was $12. Today, it's $200. It's not the most expensive Cabernet on earth, but it's still an icon. And
wow.
Now another thing, by the way. See all these bottles back here? Some of these we did 40 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
And I think we need to show them.
We need to taste them, actually.
Well, we could taste them on camera and see how they're holding up.
We did with my dad, right? All right. So that's
my segment.
That's the segment. Now that you saw our little introduction, that Ed's new brilliant brainstorm, he's like, "God, come in here! What are you waiting for?" For that.
What'd you guys think? I want to hear from you.
Anyway, this is a Vintners series for May of 2018. Our birthday month. Yay! Look at this. Happy birthday. Let me just put this hat on. Oh, no,
oops.
Man, 46 years. 46 years.
46 years.
And the
and
main
I told him not to do it. It's a true story, by the way.
The main conversation these days, though, is, wow, how has the market changed? Not the wine market's changing too, for sure, but the internet, the way we market is changing so rapidly. So go ahead and taste the wine, Ed, and see how you think. Not to bore you, let me bore you with this one. So we just talk about the import of this wine. Her name is Claire Bourret. She's born and raised in France. She travels to the big wine shows and buys for us. And this is Bicyclette. They started that the new Appellation Vin de France, right? Which used to be the table.
Vin de table, yeah.
And so that means the wines can come from anywhere in France. But this is not the case. I don't know why they label like this, because this is, she's so consistent. One thing about some people, you buy something, you taste something, you get it, it's not the same stuff. But when you buy from her, what she brought from France is what we get. And I'm impressed with this Merlot.
This wine is absolutely delicious.
And they just put a little Syrah in it.
Yeah. 20% Syrah, 80% Merlot, and this is a very unique area, the Languedoc. I mean, 35 years ago, the wines were very ordinary because nobody paid attention to them because they couldn't get any money for it. And then a few enterprising people like Pellier, who makes this wine, decided we got to make more money, so we got to grow better grapes. I mean, it's that simple, and that's what he's been doing. And he's been pretty much at the forefront. I love it when he gets smaller. You want to know about the wine or not?
Bicyclette. So this has got Merlot, which you smell, and but what you get in the finish is a Syrah.
A little Syrah, exactly.
And so, in order to make that balance, in other words, if they put more Syrah, I would feel it out of balance. You know, right now it just sort of transitions properly, but sometimes when you're doing these blends, you know, you put a little more Syrah, and you go, oh yeah, it's a little too.
Well, but you know, it depends on where the grapes came from. Because honestly, one of my favorite wines we ever did was a blend of Syrah and Cabernet Franc. And when I read this, I go, that sounds stupid. That sounds so stupid. Why would you blend Cabernet Franc? They don't work together at all. The wine was delicious, absolutely delicious. I mean, it was called OMG, I think, several years ago.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. The Cabernet Franc, that was our one.
The Cabernet, yeah, and I'm going, this wine is fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And who would have thought that blend up?
You know what's fun about this wine, because you wouldn't expect it, is that it's the finish is hanging on there. I keep tasting the spice.
No, it's a beautiful wine. Leg of lamb with lots
me.
of garlic. Yeah, I'm at a 95, $13.99 reorder price. It's really delicious. Next.
So I got this book.
You got a book? You read?
I read a lot.
Oh
actually.
my goodness!
I got this book. It was on the free table of books at the French school I go to, and it's it was a recipe book. Apparently, it's 2 volumes. It was the compilation of recipes from the famous French women's magazine called Aujourd'hui, the Femme d'Aujourd'hui, right?
Which translates into How to Serve Man.
So no, but that's funny you said that, because
Twilight Zone episode.
The first thing I opened to was this plate of 6 brains, lamb brains, in with on a bed of spinach, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I show every French person I show this, they're like, ugh, we don't eat that.
Well, that's because they don't have any taste. Now, we're going to have several wines from Mecedora coming up, and of course, I'd never heard of them. But I had heard of the winemaker, Jimmy Munoz, who has a tremendous reputation in Chile, and his wines are so meticulously built. I don't know how else to explain it, but he's extremely passionate about what he does. I mean, considering the bottles and the packaging and everything else, and he's one of the few winemakers that has control over that sort of thing. So he builds these wines that are really interesting and yet still delicious.
If you were to put this with domestic Sauvignon Blancs, no one would tell you this is Chilean.
Well, nobody tell you what it is because it's so different, you know.
But it doesn't carry any, just like that Awning Estate, which is a different winery completely. It's beautiful, silkscreen bottle, right? We're very fortunate to get these wines. They're heavy glass, silkscreen bottle, very expensive package, through a vendor that we know well, and he wanted to expose this to us. So we have 3 or 4 of their varietals. I didn't buy all of them. I didn't like all of them. So we bought, I think, the Carmenere and the Merlot.
Do you know what this tastes like, though? This tastes like the Sauvignon Blanc from the Loire that doesn't come from Sancerre-Pouilly.
You're right.
You know,
You're
those what do they call those? Loire Blanc or something like that. Because we've done some of them, and they have that nice steeliness.
Right, it's lean enough for that, but you still get some fruit character.
You get some very interesting fruit character, though, you know?
But you're not getting the grass, you're not getting the grapefruit.
There's no grass, there's no grapefruit, there's no peach, there's no stone fruit. Right. But it's like there's a little citrus edge and something like guava or kiwi. Guayaba. Anyway,
Sandia.
$18.99 on the shelf, which is a fabulous price. $12.99 reorder, and I'm at a 96.
96.2.
96.2?
0.2.
0.2. Yeah.
Wow. That's really fun.
It's delicious wine. I'd love this with shellfish.
I haven't tasted it for a few months.
With raw oysters.
Shellfish? Don't be shellfish.
Oops. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse.
Do you have that with halibut? Just for the halibut?
I think I'd rather have the chicken. Where is it? Is it down there?
Okay, this is. I remember this wine now.
Yeah.
I had to taste it because I bought the other vintage, and then they Yeah, switch vintages on me, and they're like they were just going to send it to me. And of course, the wine of the month club, we don't just substitute vintages without tasting it because the wines are different. I don't know. Did you taste the Chakra Barda Pinot Noir from Argentina? Or Barda? I don't think you have.
No, I never heard of it.
The 15, incredible biodynamic wine. 16 comes, absolutely different wine. Same winemaker, same soil, same everything. Totally different wine.
Well, it's a different vintage, you know.
I know. And so they try to substitute the vintage on me and move the, what's this, the 16 or the 15? The 16. So I tasted the 15, loved it. They were about to ship the 16. I said, no, you got to taste it. So I loved it.
So what's wrong with it?
Nothing.
Okay. What are you complaining about?
I'm not complaining.
But you are. You
I'm
complain
explaining to my clientele that, we watch out for what we get. You know what I'm saying? Even despite the fact that I hire you to do
How
this.
long have you been doing this? 46 years.
Couple of weeks. Wow. What is a mouthful, isn't it?
This is what I call the dark side of Pinot Noir. It's big, it's rich, it's almost Cabernet. It's a Pinot Noir for Cabernet drinkers. I'd sure like to see what this wine tastes like in a few years.
It's got that structured backbone acid that you don't get from Pinot Noir.
No, you really don't. And yet it's got all the stuffing in there. There's fruit, it's got a great nose. One thing about wine, if you smell it, it's there. If you don't taste it, it's got because it hasn't come out yet. But what's going to be interesting is this wine, when we have it at lunch with the staff so they can taste it's going to taste different than it does now. You know?
It is a beefy Pinot Noir.
It is. You heard it here first.
Well, we've been tasting wines for the Pinot Noir Club, which are all pedigreed wines. I could put this in that easily as a comparison to, that Santa Barbara strawberry and that spicy, Santa Ynez, but totally different wine.
95 for me, and
I'm a 97. I think it's a great example for this price range of a Pinot Noir.
well, I may change my mind in an hour or so when it opens up because it's going to be a different wine.
Yeah, don't be dissing my wine, man.
Just wine 95. What do you want? Oh, I couldn't wait.
All right, this is a good question. Somebody asked the other day at the tasting here at the shop. Hey, first Saturday of the month, folks, come to our office. We're tasting wines, and that was, do your scores compare to? How do they compare to the Spectator and Suckling? I said, well, you can't compare them. First of all, we don't know what they're tasting for. But so I said, well, we compare them. Our scores are relative to the stuff we taste in the same price range for the same varietal. So if we say the wine's 98 compared to an 88, we're talking about the same Cabernet at the same price range that we've tasted, which we taste hundreds of at a time. So we're not comparing them against Sucklings and Spectators ratings. We're comparing amongst themselves, which is more indicative of what it is.
And they're comparing their scores by the advertising revenue. But I didn't say that.
You didn't say that. All right.
This is a great wine.
I know one of your favorite varietals.
Absolutely.
And for me, indigenous white varietals are one of my favorites. And
From Italy.
you have a hard time, Italy, right? You have a hard time explaining to people what they are. You can't compare them. You can't say, oh, this tastes like the Sauvignon Blanc. It doesn't work. They are, but they are.
Well, I mean, Vermentino, Vernaccia, and
This has got
Verdicchio.
No, right. But this has got Gracetto.
Yeah, it's got great.
Okay, so what's interesting is that this is Vermentino. You might see more Vermentino on the shelf, but you're never going to see a Gracetto, right? Bottled that way. Well, I've only seen maybe two.
Yeah, maybe that's.
But that's a grape that adds a complexity to the wine that you'd never other get to taste in America or anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, but this is from a relatively new area in Tuscany called the Maremma, and it was a really interesting story, which you can read about if
fun.
If you care to. But it's.
It's organic too.
It had the problem with it is it had a swamp there that had infectious malaria in it, and a lot of the workers died. So they had to drain the swamp before they could plant vineyards. And
hey, the cheery guy Ed is.
well, that's the history of it. And it's only really been in the last 20 years that the Maremma has started to really come on. And of course, it's Tuscany. It's got Tuscan soil. It's got a lot of things going for it. And there's some great wines coming out. Some great reds. And this is the first Vermentino I've tasted, which is a real wonderful wine. Great for me. I love it.
That's so fun. I'm just a 98 for me. It's just a great example. I love having the opportunity to feel and taste this Gracetto in there.
And that's our limited series for May.
It would have been if it was the limited series, but it ain't. It's the Vintners series.
Well, I'm just seeing if you're paying attention. I wasn't.
Cheers. Turn the sound up.
Oh, now we turn the sound up.